I see confusion.
Please wait, we will start at 25 past 11. People are joining.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'll be starting at 25 past 11 because people are joining and that disturbs it.
Okay, sir.
Right. Good morning, everybody. Uh, can you
Morning,
see
sir.
the transparency? Can you see the
Morning, sir.
transparency?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
now nobody will be admitted, so let them try. Uh, Today we'll be looking at human resource management in changing environment. That is, we will also be looking at the global concept of global village. Right now, if you look at human resource management, we find that it is in the era of globalization, that is global think and local needs. The emergence of new scientific way of people management has given birth to the new term that we have been emphasizing in past, that is called human resource management. Uh, See, this human resource management is a buzzword for people development strategies and partnership policies today, because we said that we are looking at human resource management from the perspective of a strategic weapon in the hands of the organization. And therefore, what we find that organizational success and sustainability depends on, like other functions, on human resource management as well. Uh, so we said that human resource management is there to gain, regain, and sustain competitive advantage. Uh, it was Barry Smith who wrote a book in 1998 and stated that people are the most important asset. And one of the underlying factor is that human capital is very much powerful and valuable for the organization, right? But there is another gentleman called Kenoy. Uh, he has branded HRM as a case of wolf in sheep's clothing because it is the new term which is more fashionable than previously known personnel management. And former Ministry of Labor also supported this argument. But the argument that whether it is a new term or an old term, whether personnel management is right or human resource management is right, can be seen in many ways, especially when quotas say that there is nothing but an old wine wrapped in a new bottle. In fact, there are many differences between the two terms. And therefore, Torrington Hall, uh, an authority in the field, when they wrote a book called Personnel Management, a new approach, made clear that there are substantive differences between human resource management and personnel management. Uh, but the argument remains as to whether human resource management is a new name for personnel management, or is it the other way around that we are looking at. Torrington Hall, he said, has made it clear, and they strongly stated that personnel management is more focused on people management. Please, underlying the term, they are saying it is focused on people management, whereas human resource management focus on people development. So there is a great difference between the two terms called people management and people development. And with the people development, innovation is also associated. Once we say people development, we are talking about proactive approach that is there. Whereas when we talked about people management, it was more to do with the reactive approaches of managing people. In other words, personnel management was seen as a part of the problem, but human resource management is seen as a part of solution. This is what Devanand, an Indian scholar, had to say. So HRM can be the major contributor to the success of an enterprise because it is a key position to affect customers, business results, and ultimately shareholders' value and therefore we term it as a strategic weapon. And we should not forget that human resource management is integrated part of management that deals directly with people and for people. In other words, human resource management focuses on fulfillment of internal customer needs, which can help the organization to satisfy the needs of the external customers, because it considers the employee as the customers of the organization, right? So these are finer, rather broader differences that could be seen. But what we have today, post globalization, that the world has become a global village. The global village is a term that reflects the state of business in our world, the rise of multinational, transnational corporations, which has placed new requirements on human resource managers. For instance, resources must ensure that the appropriate mix of employee in terms of knowledge, skill, cultural adaptability are available for posting them on overseas assignments. Right? Uh, Recently, I guided a PhD in the field of this particular problem, whereby we were looking at the problems of expatriates, those who are posted outside, as to what kind of problem do they face. And we noticed that there were enormous problems. इमरान चल रहा है बस ठीक है थैंक यू right. So what we noticed was that there were enormous problems of adjustment that these people face, and therefore not only when you post people, you have got to train them for knowledge, skill, and cultural adaptability, but when they return back, we also have got to put them to some kind of a training, some kind of counseling before they become. I
Sir's voice is not audible right.
फैसल जैसे तुम उठो टॉयलेट नहीं गए हो जाओ चलो जाओ
सर तो चले गए।
अरे एक साथ तुमको डांटोगे तो और क्या होगा?
और तुम जो है इजराइल जाओ। Don't order me or I will bomb. संडे का किसने फाइनलाइज करी है मीटिंग?
कौन सी मीटिंग भाई?
मेरे को ग्रुप पे किसी ने डाला था ना वो संडे में सीसीडी में।
भाई
अच्छा,
सीसीडी इज जस्ट अ लैंडमार्क, उधर पहुंच जाए एक बार, मैरिज रोड से कहीं भी चल लेंगे। वो पूरे हफ्ते की सेव करने की जरूरत नहीं है कि सीसीडी जाना है।
जब 26 जनवरी में मिलते हैं मार्च में। सर सही है, सच याद कह रहा हूँ। इस स्टेच्यू हॉल।
भाई दोबारा कनेक्ट होगा अब ये या खत्म होगी क्लास?
अब आप सबका टीचर में हूँ, आप
टेक्निकल
सबका
इशू है सर,
टीचर में
शायद
हूँ।
रिज्वाइन करें।
I think we should leave the class now.
रुक जाओ भाई, रुक जाओ, फिर सर ऐड करेंगे नहीं आ गए तो।
सर ने तो बोल दिया है, लीव कर लो।
ठीक है भाई।
अच्छा यार, पहले बता देते।
पार्टी कर,
पार्टी खत्म हो गई।
चलो तो
इट्स वेरी इंसल्टिंग।
लेट अस कॉल इट अ डे।
क्लास दोबारा से रिज्यूम हो तो प्लीज ग्रुप पे डाल देना कोई।
अब नहीं होगी भाई।
सर को जर्मनी से कॉल आ गया, जाना पड़ा उन्हें।
भाई सर ने कहाँ बोला था क्लास लीव करने को?
हाँ, कहाँ पे मैसेज आया है?
भाई सर तो जब बोलेंगे लिखेंगे जब उनका इंटरनेट चलेगा, इंटरनेट चलता तो खुद ही आ जाते, बोलने लिखने की क्या जरूरत पड़ती उन्हें।
राइट पॉइंट।
आफाक भाई तुम ही कह रहे थे ना सर ने बोल दिया।
नहीं, उससे पहले किसी की आवाज आई थी। मुझे लगा
भाई को
अरे वो
नहीं, नहीं,
हस्तान था, वो बोल रहा था मैं हूँ सर।
अच्छा नहीं, नहीं मुझे लगा सर ने ही कहा है।
अरे ओवेस को पता होगा, ओवेस के टच में रहते हैं सर।
कौन हो वेस्ट पैसेंजर?
पहले तो आपको घबराना नहीं है।
कल सिटी सेंटर पे क्या हो गया ना?
पता नहीं भाई, मैं तो हॉस्पिटल में था।
अरे आदिल क्या मैसेज कर रहा है, कह रहा है सर मीटिंग में ही है। मीटिंग में तो है नहीं, कहाँ चलेगा, दिख तो नहीं रहा नाम उनका।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर। सर अस्सलाम वालेकुम। जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर। सर आई एम सॉरी फॉर कॉलिंग यू डायरेक्टली, लेकिन आप सर मैं मोहम्मद आदिल बात कर रहा हूँ एमबीए बैच से। सर मैं मोहम्मद आदिल बात कर रहा हूँ एमबीए बैच से। भाई साहब मैंने सर को कॉल किया एंड सर स्ट्रेट अप सेड टू मी कि आई एम सॉरी, आई कैन नॉट टॉक टू यू राइट नाउ बिकॉज आई एम टेकिंग अ क्लास राइट नाउ।
कौन सी क्लास ले रहे हैं?
कौन सी क्लास ले रहे हैं? मैं उसी क्लास से बात कर रहा हूँ।
दूसरी स्टार्ट हो गई लग रहा है।
सर पैरेलल वर्ड में पहुंच गए क्या?
भाई साहब
तुमने सर को बोला नहीं क्या कि हमारी तरफ मतलब आ नहीं रहा उनका वॉइस या कुछ भी, वो लीव कर चुके हैं?
उन्होंने ये भी नहीं सुना कि मैं उसी क्लास से बात कर रहा हूँ जिस क्लास में प्रेजेंट होने का आप क्लेम कर रहे हैं।
भाई व्हाट्सएप
तुमने
कर दो, बता भी नहीं पता क्लास ले रहे हो।
स्कैम।
तो मैं उनको पर्सनली टेक्स्ट करके देखता हूँ।
स्कैम।
अजीब हाल है भाई, अजीब हाल है।
भाई कॉल नहीं उठाया तो मैसेज क्या देखेंगे? अरमा मैसेज कर रही है।
क्लास के बाद बोलेंगे बेटे मैं क्लास ले रहा था।
सर ने बहुत शानदार पढ़ाया।
बहुत कुछ ज्यादा ही समझ में आ गया आज।
पढ़ा किसको रहे हैं सर?
मैं भी फाइनल ईयर को पढ़ा रहा हूँ।
ट्यूशन दे रहे हैं क्या?
रिजॉइन करके भी देख लिया भाई साहब, कोई फायदा नहीं हो रहा।
क्या करें फिर, लेफ्ट कर दे क्लास?
Yes, we should leave the club.
दूसरी क्लास का वैसे टाइम तो हो रहा है, 11:50 होने वाला है। 15 मिनट बाद हो जाएगा।
लेकिन इस क्लास में रुकने से क्या फायदा?
सब एक साथ लीव कर दो ना, जब क्लास में कोई होगा ही नहीं तो फिर
क्या
सर
चल रहा
पढ़ाएंगे
है?
कैसे?
यार आई कॉल्ड सर एंड सर कह रहे नहीं मैं क्लास दे रहा हूँ, प्लीज डू नॉट
तो
डिस्टर्ब।
होगी
आई सी
नहीं, अब
व्हाट्स द
जिसको
प्रॉब्लम,
लीव
तुम
करना
क्यों नहीं
होगी।
ज्वाइन कर पा रही हो? देयर आर लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु आर वेटिंग फॉर मी, प्लीज डू नॉट डिस्टर्ब।
ये तो यार काफी हो रहा है यार, केस था। गलत सीन हो गया।
भैया तुम तो फालतू हो, जर्मनी जाओ, नहीं इजराइल।
आ, आ, आजा तू आजा, इंस्टा भी मैसेज कर ले।
Sir, now you're visible. So you're not there.
Sir, your mic is muted, sir.
You're not audible.
There was some technical problem that was there.
So we missed everything.
No issues.
Sir, I think we missed everything. That's why we
I'll
called
go
you.
from the beginning. I'll go from the
Initial 1 or 2 lines only, sir.
सर हम लोगों ने वहाँ तक से बात कर ली थी जब आप ये बता रहे थे कि ड्यू टू द वर्ल्ड बिकमिंग अ ग्लोबल विलेज, एचआरस हैव टू ट्रेन पीपल इन ऑर्डर टू इनकॉर्पोरेट देम इनटू द इंटरकल्चरल सेटिंग, कि आपको अपने ट्रेनीज को इस बात पे ट्रेन करना पड़ता है कि वो कल को बाहर जाएंगे या फिर उनके साथ कल को बाहर के लोग काम करने आएंगे, तो उनकी ट्रेनिंग ऐसी होनी चाहिए कि अलग अलग कल्चर्स एक दूसरे को इनकॉर्पोरेट कर पाए।
ठीक है बेटे, ठीक है। मैं भी हम जस्ट let me just see if I can show you the transparencies. Yes, I can. Can you see the transparency now? Hello?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Can you see
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. I think this transparency you have already seen that what is a global village. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
So I'll move to another one. We have also explained you as to what is a global village as such, where cultural adaptability and other things are there. But I think we missed out on the concept of language, right? We have not seen as to what language. First of all, there must be means for these workers to gain a working knowledge of language of the country in which they will work. And therefore, understanding language cannot be overstated. Why? Because there have been too many examples of embarrassing situations and lost businesses because of executives either not knowing detailed description of the product, or they do not know even the names or marketing strategies that is translated poorly in some foreign countries. Sometimes what happens that this language creates quite a lot of problem as well. So without knowing the language, it becomes very, very difficult. Although there is another school of thought which says that if you know English, which is one of the international languages, your problem gets reduced to a large extent, but it is not completely over. See, even if you look at India itself, forget about overseas assignment. In India, if you are going towards the side of eastern India, say Orissa or Assam, or you talk about Bengal, if you are interacting in their language in that part of India, perhaps you will be better equipped to handle the customers than if you speak English in that particular region, because Hindi they will not really interact with. Or even if you are going towards Tamil Nadu side, you will find that they do not prefer to interact in the language that you know. Even English is not very common language that they speak. Most often they speak English rather than English that we hear about. Or in Bengal, we said they speak English rather than English. In the Western world, for overseas assignments, within the country, there are variations. As I said, I'm quite familiar with the United Kingdom culture and language, because if you are working in, say, in the city of London, most people in and around would speak Cockney to a large extent in the offices. Whereas if your organizations are located somewhere around Whitney area, or you have, Oxford area or other places of the similar kind, then you will find that they most often interact in Victorian English. Whereas if you go towards the Merseyside, they have got a entirely different kinds of English that they speak, not to talk about the Irish or other people in the same country. Now, in order to cope that, apart from the English that you know, you must also try and adapt with the accent that you are going to interact with people of that particular area. Let alone leaving out the Eastern European countries or Western European countries that is there. For example, if you look at interacting with an Italian, Italians do not speak English like the British people would do. They would speak English from the tip of their tongue. And therefore, if you are interacting with them from the tip of their tongue, they will feel that you are very, very close to them, rather than talking like the Britishes, talking like the Americans. That is not acceptable, perhaps, or not all that acceptable for the Italians or the French people who are very, very polite kind of people when they are interacting with you, right? So this becomes, are you listening? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Even Rashid use this.
Yes, sir.
I need
Yes, sir.
assurance because lost out the connection.
Yes, sir.
No, I kept speaking. Fine. Apart from this accent that you speak, sometimes you gain knowledge about it. Just a moment. People are disturbing. Just a moment.
अरे भैया
फिर से knock knock. पार्सल आ गया. बायजूस वाले आ गए क्या?
मार्केटिंग से
या फिर पाथ फाइंडर वाले आ गए दिख रहा है.
सेल्स मैक्सिमाइजेशन.
I'm sorry, dear. There's always a problem when you are taking class from home. Gas man.
This is the beauty of online classes. Not an issue, sir.
So what we find that we must try and learn the language where we are working as a second language that is there, and there is multi-language that sometimes we need to learn. Otherwise, there would be problems of this language that is there. Apart from this, the other thing, the second component is that of culture. In addition to language, the human resource management must also look at the cultural adaptability of people. So they must understand overseas culture, that is the host country's culture. All countries have different values. They have different moral values. They have got different customs. They have got different laws. So we have got societies which are highly individualistic societies, and there are societies which are not so individualistic, rather than they cooperate quite a bit. Consequently, cultural considerations are critical to success of global business which is there. Transparency is not changing. Some research has found out that there are a group of countries according to which cultural variables are as status differentiation, societal uncertainty, and assertiveness level would be different. These variables indicate the means of dealing with its people, how the people see themselves. For example, in an individualistic society, people are primarily concerned with themselves or their family, or whereas the opposite of it would be true for other societies. Now, for the countries like US, which many of us have craving to go and join, no doubt economically they are superior, technologically they are superior. But in terms of being highly individualistic, they don't care for others. So even if somebody you encounter on a road and you ask them the way out or an address, most often you will not get an answer. Or even if you get it, that answer would be a very, very vague kind of a thing. But the same thing if you do in British culture, you would find that they would try and explain you very, very politely. They would help you out as far as possible in locating the area where you want to go. And the height would be if you are in some of the Eastern European countries like Hungary or similar kind of countries, we find that if you ask for any location or address, if it is nearby, the 99% chances are the person will take you to that location and show you that this is the address where you want to go. So that differentiation is quite common, that in terms of individualistic versus the non-individualistic societies that is there. And we must appreciate and learn as to where we are going to work. Therefore, HRM must develop mechanism that will help multicultural individuals work together as a background language, customs, and age differences. All these things will be there, and therefore adaptability becomes very, very important in terms of this cultural adaptability. Even when you look at greeting people, say in a Western culture, irrespective of gender differences, shaking hand is very, very common, right? Similarly, sometimes if you are more friendly, they, touch cheek of each other as far as the females are concerned, or they call the more friendly female employee, greeting them as hi honey or hi handsome for a male employee kind of thing is very, very common. But if you use the same thing in the Indian organizations, most often you will get a map on your face, right? So we have got to care. And therefore, when we are sending employee outside, I think I said that I guided a PhD in this particular field, where we were looking at the employee who were going abroad, how to train them, and how these expatriates, when they return to the home country, they have to be retrained in terms of their counseling and other things, so that they become well adjusted in the job that they have returned to after their overseas assignments. But most often that we noticed was that because of lack of adaptability, even after returning these people, their family do not adjust back in the Indian culture, back home, and therefore they leave for assignment abroad, even if that assignment is slightly lower in terms of payment, but they would like to stay abroad because they have adapted to a new culture which they like more than our own culture. But there are a large number of people who would come back and not adjust with the culture abroad. So both would be true in terms of this cultural adaptability. And it's an HR challenge that you would not like to lose, an employee who you have trained for a long time, who you have sent abroad for an overseas assignment, that these people leave your organization, or when they return, they do not adjust well and leave the job. And therefore, counseling of these employees and other things time to time has to be done so that they remain productive for your organization. Now, there are certain assumptions in the organizations today in terms of HR assumptions, which we term as outdated assumption. You see in this transparency, the first assumption that we are listing is the competitive environment is stable with control over new product introduction and no undue pressure is there in terms of innovation or development cycle or manufacturing cycle time that is there. So what we notice is that this is an outdated assumption. See, if competitive environment is there, if it is a cutthroat competition that exists in the market, do you think environment is going to be stable? Answer is no, it is not. Or the products become obsolete very, very fast. So today, if you look at the product obsolescence, the minute a car gets out of sometimes it gets obsolete. But in normal circumstances, obsolescence time is 1 to 2 years, and therefore we find that modified versions of these vehicles are taken out by people for product differentiation. Similarly, not only products, even knowledge, if you look at, gets obsolete. During the 90s, late 80s and early 90s, we used to say that knowledge gets obsolete within 8 to 9 years. That was the life cycle of knowledge. And product used to get obsolete in 5 to 6 years. But today, if you look at, knowledge gets obsolete within a year or two, and same is the condition with the products. And therefore, we have got to keep upgrading, and it cannot be considering the environment is stable. We have to be, not only that today we are talking about specialization or multi-specialization, we are talking about, a person has to have knowledge of more than one area. He has to be a specialist of more than one area to survive, because you do not know as to when one kind of a job is not going to be there in the organization, and you have got to do something else in the organization. Jobs are well defined and slow to change. That is also an old assumption. Jobs are changing very, very fast, and there is no clear-cut relationship existing today, which used to be there in the past. The third assumption that employee relationships are long-term, home-to-term. You know that job hopping has become very, very common. No longer, generations work for the same employer. Today, a person in their lifetime may have worked for more than 10 organizations sometimes. The psychological contracts and exchanges and long-term security is also not there. There is only one security, that if you are productive, if you are knowledgeable, your jobs are secured. Otherwise, your jobs are not secured. And therefore, question of loyalty and sacrifice does not come up. We also find that the employees are no longer homogeneous male. This changes started long back. Today, like the classroom has got as much as 50% of the people of two different genders. We have the workplace as well having, if not similar proportion, but a large number of male and female employees working. So that is also there. It is no longer from the same village people work in the same bank branch, or same family people work in the same organizations. It is not there. We also find that families are no longer one paycheck family leading to family orientation. Today we are talking about, if there are 5 people in a family, all 5 are working. Sometimes even you find that we are emphasizing on the dual career groups. So this study that has become very, very common as to what are the problems of a dual career when the two partners are both working in the organizations. or they are both an earning member. So it has got both pros and cons. But the thing is that today we have got dual career operating and everybody working from the family. There is no dependence on one person who used to be the head of the family, who were having economic power. Today, economic power is decentralized with every individual. They are way better off. Now, organizations are no longer made up of functional silos as it used to be. That is an outdated assumption that it is made up of functional silos. And we are not talking about these silos with long-term horizons for employee development and relatively little need for intergroup cooperation across different functional specializations. Today, we said that it is a system and subsystem that it is operating, and therefore organizations. These are outdated assumptions of human resource management. I'll continue with this topic now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.